Have you ever wanted to run away? I mean, just leave all the stress, all the strife, and all the responsibilities behind and just go for it. If we would be honest, my friend, I think most people would admit that that thought has at least crossed their minds at one point or another. And some of us have probably taken action on it, even if we only made it to the end of the block. Yet, running away isn't as simple as just packing up a knapsack and then heading out. And that's part of why it can be seen as childish. And there's another reason I'll touch on, but first, before revealing my defense of escapism, particularly in regards to fiction, I want to give a voice to at least my observations about why some people may object to it. The first reason is, of course, that running away from our problems is not really an effective option, just because we've generally had some hand in causing those problems in the first place. Because we can leave the job, the relationships, the environment, and maybe even our names behind, but if we don't leave the mindsets, attitudes, and behaviors behind as well, we'll end up having a bit of deja vu down the road. It's like that friend who's been in a ton of different relationships, all of which have failed, and now their latest one is also on the ropes. Now, either their type is not the time to be in a relationship with them, or the problem really is them. So it just becomes this constant cycle of love and heartbreak, like some sort of twisted hamster wheel. And the rub is that we all likely have had one of those hamster wheels. It might have had nothing to do with our love life, but we still put in a lot of effort that ended up getting us nowhere. And now, unfortunately, the second reason people may not realize it's escapism is that there are some people who want us running on their hamster wheels. They have the things that they value and feel like we should value them as well. So they want it to be constantly in our face, that we can't get away from it until eventually our neural pathways are wired to see them on the level they do. Thus, they will complain about anything that doesn't have their values in the position they want them to be in, because they live and breathe it so everyone else should too. Because that's the thing about our brains, is that while they are more flexible than we kind of often treat them, we do form pathways in them, or kind of like an algorithm on the internet or so forth, where once you kind of connect two dots in a sense, it becomes easier to connect those two dots. Or, for example, think of someone who's rather cynical at looking at things, like they think everybody's out to get them, or that everyone's just out for number one, and that's their perspective on life. So all the evidence they see will be filtered in that everybody is out for their own self-interest. Whereas someone who's like, people are generally may treat each other well, if they have that perspective, then they should see the same actions in that, oh, that person probably had a reason for doing that, or that person actually didn't see me, or however it is. But people tend to see two of the same things, but because of the neural pathways in their brain, they have two different outcomes that they're kind of understanding in a sense. And of course, in addition, those neural pathways are also effective in regards to like sales. So as a salesperson goes about their business, it can be known that there are like, I think it's 7 exposures for someone to actually finally make a purchase. It's just kind of like, you have to see it like on Facebook, you have to see it in the newspaper, you have to see it in the store, you have to see it on Instagram, did a YouTube video, read a review, and then finally talk to a salesperson about dating it. And during that process, the salesperson also wants you to kind of be focused on it so that you will make the decision. And while that's kind of an effective way of using it, it also proves exactly kind of why we need escapism, and often with more variety than some people may want. For example, have you ever been stressed out while working or in the middle of an argument and decided to just go out for a walk or a drive? Did things start to feel differently after you did? I know for me, there's some truth to this song, as distance really does make things seem small. It's like when we step off that hamster wheel for a little bit, we get a different perspective on what we've been doing. For me, when I take a walk during the day, I get this kind of chance to break up what I've been doing. So if I've found myself distracted or so forth, I can go for a walk and then come back with a renewed focus or understanding of what actually needs to be done. Because we kind of need that opportunity to actually look at our actions or choices and then evaluate them kind of separately. Because when we are in the thick of something, we mostly care about being right or crossing off tasks from our list or winning the argument or whatever it is we're doing. But when we actually back away from those things, we can start to see that, wait a minute, maybe we were wrong about that. Or maybe we're being busy for busyness' sake. Or maybe the argument wasn't important in the first place. And then if we put down our pride, we may actually decide to ditch that hamster wheel altogether. Or maybe even trade it in for one of those snazzy balls instead. Now, the reason this kind of ended up clicking for me was listening and reading about how there seemed to be a pattern of people that I would consider high achievers who talked about not just reading, but reading fiction at the end of the day to wind down. Because I'd been converted to the lifelong learner paradigm. Like, read every day, just keep learning, you never stop learning. But in the process, I had left some of my fiction reading behind, so seeing this kind of paradox stuck out to me, especially since I like telling stories and building worlds. So yes, I am completely unutterly biased about this. Because it was like seeing something that I had laid down in order to be effective end up being valued. And this is part of the reason I started this channel, is to help me pick it back up. Furthermore, there are also other reasons to enjoy escapism. One, for example, is that I remember listening to this teaching years ago about ministering to people, where the person talked about how before you minister to someone, it can help to watch a children's show to just get you in that mindset of that all things are possible. Because, I mean, getting into a problem and then out of it in less than 30 minutes is pretty amazing if you ask me. Of course, that isn't to say that a little distance is the solution to all our problems, as we can often end up talking ourselves out of a lot of good things, just because we decided to be a realist about it. But having that ability to sleep on something per se can give us a space to actually ask, does this serve my goals and visions? It's like, yes, something looks really nice, but is it worth it for what your plan is for your life? Kind of like, would it be more effective for the family of 5 to the sports car or the minivan? But it's kind of when we give that space to us, or make that space, we can then make an informed decision rather than one in the heat of the moment where the salesperson is trying to get us to sign the deal. Or make a decision in the heat of an argument that can leave long-lasting consequences and hurt. And besides, I'm not advocating for running away forever. Just having a little escape so that we can come back to reality at the end of the chapter with a new way of looking at things. Still, I've already mentioned my bias, so if you have a different way of seeing things, why not share in the comments below? And if you got a bit of value out of this video, feel free to share it with your friends. Anyway, I'm Jonah, you've been watching Lions Mane Media. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.